Hi Middle-earth fans and collectors, this is Daniel Falconer here from Where to Workshop. We're doing something really fun at the moment. If you're a fan of our Middle-earth collectibles ranges, then you may be interested in this. We're actually running some auctions whereby you as a collector can obtain the very first statue or environment straight off the run, number 001. And I thought you might be interested in hearing a few fun little anecdotes about these pieces. The very first piece we're doing is Azog Warg as part of our 1/6 scale range for The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. Given that Azog was the main villain, we really wanted to do something very memorable with this piece. So the idea we came up with was actually to put him on a warg and have him coming screaming around a corner, almost like a motorcyclist taking a tight bend. The challenge was, though, that it meant that this whole heavy collectible was leaning right over and had the potential to break. So we had to try and solve this engineering challenge. The way we did it in the end was by putting a tree stump in the sculpt, and the warg is actually kicking it up and knocking it over as it comes screaming around the corner. So that added the stability we needed, and it actually made the statue even more dynamic. Fun little anecdote here too. Azog was sculpted by Lindsay Baker. She and her husband Andrew Baker both worked on the film as designers, and interestingly enough, Andrew was actually the one who came up with the concept for what Azog would look like in the movie and was largely responsible for what he looked like in the final film. Next up, Barad-dar, the Dark Tower of Sauron, crafted by master model maker David Tremont, who was actually a model maker on the movies as well. We had access to the original shooting miniature of Barad-dar, which at 7.5 meters tall was so large that it couldn't fit inside the workshop. We actually had to take it apart into 3 pieces and bring them into Dave's area, and he could crawl inside them, actually get like right up into them and take his measurements. He created more than 100 individual panel pieces that he could then replicate into more than 1,000 pieces that he used to build this collectible over a 9-month period. The other really cool thing about Barad-dar is that we actually created a mobile app that you could use, download, lock in on the top of the tower. It would read the top of the tower and it would superimpose and animate the red eye of Sauron in there, complete with dialogue from the film. Super cool feature. Let's talk about Fili the dwarf, one of our quote-unquote handsome dwarves in the company of Thorin. Fili the dwarf was sculpted by Lindsay Baker. Lindsay had access to digital scans of Dino Gorman's head cast, so she could get an exact likeness. Then all it came down to after that really was filling in all the amazing detail of the costume, which fortunately we had access to for a direct reference, and then putting him in a cool pose that reflected the character. We designed it in such a way that Fili could sort of stand kind of cocky. He's got his 2 swords out. He's sort of giving you the eye as the viewer, and can be posed back to back with his brother Kili, who's also got his bow. We like the idea that you could put them on the shelves and pose them together. Isildur, Prince of Numenor in exile, the dude who chopped the ring from Sauron's hand. This was a stunning collectible sculpted by Dan Cockasell. Dan Cockasell sculpted this collectible entirely physically. So where some of our sculpts are digital and then 3D printed, this was a clay and model making piece. Dan poured everything into this piece. I think it has a stunning likeness personally. The scene that we were trying to capture was sort of an all-in-one story whereby you've got Isildur. He's just literally chopped the ring from Sauron's hand and he's looking at it for the first time and he's kind of captivated by it, and it's beginning to take over him. In the statue you've got the shards of Narsil, the sword that was broken at his feet, you've got the helmet of Sauron right there, so it really is the whole package in one small scene. Kili was sculpted by Lindsay Baker, who also was involved in designing the look of the character for the film. One of the big challenges we had with some of these younger dwarves was that Peter Jackson was adamant that he didn't want to overtake the actor and cover them in beard and nose and hair and all that kind of stuff. We could kind of get away with that for some of the more character-filled older dwarves, but for the younger ones he really didn't want them to look like garden gnomes. With an actor like Aidan Turner cast in the role, a light prosthetic was the way to go. So Lindsay designed it in such a way that he ended up having just very much a little tiny weeny nose tip and ears, but other than that, it's pretty much just Aidan that you see there. We had access to digital scans of Aidan's face, which is directly what Lindsay used in the sculpt, and that's why the likeness is so good. Well, thanks very much everyone. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little stroll down memory lane. I'll be back next week to share some more stories, so I hope you'll join me.